So we solved the reporting problem. You got to pull 50 Excel reports or a rent roll from 3 different property management systems. You got to clean it. You got to standardize it. And then you got to do something with it. So we handle all of that, and that's all set, done, refreshed by the time you get to your desk in the morning. So the days of week-old data, month-old, in some cases quarter-old, this maybe not so much anymore. What we found in case studies that we've done is that this tool is generally saving 10 or more hours a week per position. And those 3 positions being asset managers, regional managers, and property managers.
Hi, Adam Gower here, founder of GowerCrowd.com and host of this podcast series, AI in Real Estate. Welcome to today's episode. Today is another demo day episode. My guest is Colin Green of BubbleGum BI.com. He is the founder, and the problem that BubbleGum solves is for property managers and asset managers who have to use multiple different disparate data sets in order to understand exactly what's going on at the property level. Typically, that is done on a Monday, the MMR, Monday Morning Report. Well, what BubbleGum does is it consolidates all the different data sources plus some into one dashboard, and it updates it in real time all the time. It's absolutely fascinating. One of the biggest impacts of using the platform that Colin describes is the way that property and asset managers have discovered novel and innovative ways to improve performance simply because they have access to the data in the way that BubbleGum provides it. So keep an eye out for that. It's very, very powerful. If you are listening to this podcast, we do our best to describe what's on the screen, but of course it is a screen-based demonstration. So please go to GowerCrowd.com, click on the show notes page, and you'll find a video there. You can watch it there, stream it there. You can go to YouTube, find my YouTube channel, GowerCrowd.com. You'll find it there. And if you do watch at the GowerCrowd website, please be sure to subscribe to my newsletter. That way you will get immediate access when these podcasts go live, and you will also get narrative summaries as well. So you can see whether or not it's something that is worth your time taking a look at. If you are an asset or property manager, I guarantee today's presentation will be of interest to you, right? And one final thing before we get going. If you decide that you want to test the BubbleGumBI.com platform, do let Colin know that that you came from GowerCrowd, that you heard the podcast, and he will give you a free trial. All right, so make sure that you mention that. All right, without further ado, let's move on to Colin Green, BubbleGumBI.com founder, coming right up. Colin, it's so nice to see you again. I've been so looking forward to talking to you and getting this demo on the books. There's nothing better than having a business with a name that is super familiar and comforting to call. Colin, BubbleGumBI.com. Let's start with, why don't you give me high level? Who are you?
Yeah.
Name of company, of course, I've just given it away. And what does BubbleGum BI do? High level.
Yeah. Well, I'm Colin. I started BubbleGum BI maybe 18 months ago. But before that, it was an idea and a dream that I wanted to chase, running my own business. And doing that, I built the app to help me be a better asset manager. So nights and weekends, after site visits, all of that stuff we just got this question. I got to figure out how to answer that. So BubbleGum BI is a business intelligence app for multifamily asset managers. And that's kind of transcended from asset management teams to regional teams and property management teams. And it's been a tool that helps people answer questions, hopefully before they come up.
Okay, so I think you've kind of half answered my next question, but target audience, who's your user or client avatar?
Yeah, asset managers is our bread and butter, but like I said, it's transcended to regional managers and property managers, kind of up and down the chain of command at a deal, because generally a regional manager is going to want to think about a deal the way an asset manager does, and your best property managers are going to become regional managers. And if we can get everybody thinking about a deal the same way, looking at the same numbers, talking the same language, then
Mm.
it becomes really, really valuable.
All right. So what's the pain point that BubbleGum BI is solving?
Yeah, reporting. Who likes reporting, right? You got to pull 50 Excel reports or a rent roll from three different property management systems. You got to clean it, you got to standardize it, and then you got to do something with it. So we handle all of that, and that's all set, done, refreshed by the time you get to your desk in the morning. So the days of week-old data, month-old, in some cases quarter-old, this maybe not so much anymore, but back when I got into the industry, you get a lot of quarter-old data. Now, if I've got data that's a day old, I'm like, man, something's wrong. It's too old. So we solve the reporting problem.
And the problem is that what's going on is that asset managers are having to use multiple sources. That's
hmm
correct?
Yeah, you've got your Monday morning reports, you've got your property management systems, you've got legacy business intelligence apps. You maybe have an analyst that is able to help you put together some reports, but if you're at a smaller ownership group, you don't have an army of analysts like some of the larger institutions do. And so the ability to automate a lot of their reporting and simmer down to like, what do I really need? That's the problem that we ultimately solve for.
So what changes? What's the first impression that somebody has? What changes immediately when somebody logs in and starts using this tool?
I it's a good question because I've been using it for so long, whether I was in asset management or now I'm no longer in that role. I think the key thing is like we could do it this fast, or it's like holy cow. I think a lot of it is like actually a real example of one time we were demoing with a client who had just rolled out live on their portfolio, and we were going through it with the regional managers, and they were like, "Well, how do we present this renewal projection information? Like, what does the chart show us?" And I was like, oh, well, that's just your lease expiration curve. And then we show you kind of how do renewal statuses look in the future. And they're like, oh, well, that makes all the sense in the world. Like, finally, somebody did it like that. So I think actually the reaction is this is being presented the way that I think about it because it was built through the lens of somebody that's worked the job, then asked the questions, had to ask the questions, had to answer the questions as an analyst. So I think a lot of that first reaction is finally something that makes sense.
I'm always happy when somebody says that's a good question as an interviewer. That was a superb answer.
Oh, that's
Yeah, I
good.
really appreciate that. This is it because it acts the way I think.
hmm
That's really, really interesting. All right,
hmm
so let's move on to the demo. Before we do, I'm going to ask you to screen share.
Yeah.
And what is there anything in particular that you want viewers to be paying attention to or being aware of as you go ahead and do this? And by the way, anybody go ahead and start screen sharing.
Yeah.
I'm just going to share the idea that we are screen sharing, as I've said now 3 times. So if you want to watch this, Colin is going to try and describe everything to you, fully aware that you're not watching, potentially not watching this. But go to gowercrowd.com and hit the podcast show notes page. The video is there. All right, you can find it on YouTube as well. All right, Colin, over to you. Oh my goodness! So this is the first thing. Are we looking at? I'm going to figure out. I can't stop talking sometimes, but I'm going to try. This is the dashboard that somebody sees when they log in first, is it?
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
I'll leave it to you now. Go for it. What are we looking at here?
Yeah. So, and I'll answer your question first. I think the thing that viewers and listeners should think about as we kind of walk through some of these metrics is answer the question, how do I get this information right now? So we're looking, what you see on the screen, here's an operation summary. Think of this like your MMR. And if you think about all of the layers of work that go into an MMR is a Monday morning report. And generally that's something that your property manager might send you on a Monday. And it includes information like your occupancies, recent leases, maybe a quick blurb on the market survey, things like that. The intention of this dashboard here is that it updates every day. So it's no longer a Monday morning report. It's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday report. Um, what I want people to think about is, okay, I see 6 cards or 6 charts here, 6 visuals. We've got occupancy, leasing, lease velocity, availability, market survey, and Google scores all on here in one quick summary. If you were to think about, okay, if I was just going to go do that and pull that information manually for, we've got 10 properties up here, how long would that take you? Just want you to kind of think about the time savings that this has got. And then if you read down at the bottom, there's a blue bar that shows all the footnotes. It shows the last updated date for all of the metrics. Every metric, today is the 18th of February. Every metric was updated today. That's the way that we generally are doing business. It's not good using old data. I don't understand how we can make decisions for the future with data that's a week or a month old.
Mm.
So what we found in case studies that we've done is that this tool is generally saving 10 or more hours a week per position. And those three positions being asset managers, regional managers, and property managers. And I personally, when I look back at kind of doing the case studies, I think we were a little conservative
Mm.
because we all know that when you're working with manual data, there are so many bugs and things that pop up, or the report didn't download the way that I wanted, or something else came up and I wasn't able to ultimately do that analysis for the day or put together the weekly report or whatever. So, and then there's the procrastination thing of like, oh, the dread of I got to do this report and I don't want to do it. So then you're thinking about it for maybe an hour or two. And so that 10 hours can become 12, 15, 18 over the course of time. So again, what we're looking at here, operation summary, think of it like your Monday morning report. I'm going to show a couple things a little bit more in depth on each of these charts. So I first
Mm.
want to start with one of the most important parts of our business today, which is your occupancy and your leasing. Occupancy is typically a backward-looking indicator, but if you use it right, it can be a forward-looking indicator as well. And so I want to turn our attention to this bottom right chart here that
Mhm.
shows us our trended occupancy over the last 12 months. So we can look at that. We're looking at it in a few different ways. We've got our current occupancy, us. We've got our budget. That's that dark blue and that light blue line. Something that we pull through as well that is generally living in a different world for a lot of people is the market number as well. And so we're able to look at the market number with publicly sourced information to see where do you stack up against you and your 15 closest comps. And so you can trend that out over time and see, am I at or above market occupancy? Because sometimes, and we all know this, you write a budget in August, September, October of one year, and then you're being judged on that budget July of the following year. Well, at that point, that budget is almost a year old, and the market can really take a turn for better or for worse. And so always having that market information is super helpful. This thing's very, very interactive. And so the ability to say, okay, I just want to look at Dallas, or I just want to look at Houston, and I want to trend this out. We visualize your 30 and 60-day occupancy projections so you can see performance forward on a forward-looking curve as well. For a lot of our clients, they do unit renovation programs. The ability to break out rents on your unit renovation programs to find current in-place rent spreads for all my fellow asset managers and former analysts out there or current analysts out there, if you think about how many times on an acquisition or a disposition or just an active unit renovation program that you've been asked, what's our rent spread? A lot of times the answer that we give is, well, the unit renovation premium that we have on this is $250. But if you think about it, okay, just because you've got a premium on that, an amenity premium on that, doesn't mean you're going to ultimately achieve that. And so the ability to monitor across these three different categories, what's happening for each of these. So I can see right here, if we look at Ashford Commons, we can see that my in place, my purple versus my dark blue, my in place reno spread is, what is that, about 23 cents across the property. That's really, really good. You can see that that purple line stays higher, better than that blue line. My hope is that when we put this stuff and this information together, we can get out of some of the complicated, like, oh, this number and trend and all these fancy words means this. And we can just go back to kindergarten and talk about lines and colors.
Mm. Interesting. So did I just see you analyze based on, I was going to say TIs, which is the wrong term, wrong industry, but based on features inside the buildings?
Yeah. So a lot of
Break
times
that down
when
for me, will you?
yeah, so ownership buys a property and they say, okay,
Mm.
I want to renovate. It's a 250 or 300 unit property. I want to renovate 50% of that. So let's say it's a 300 unit property. I want to renovate 150 units. And so they kick this program off. They spend all these unit renovation dollars. They redo the floors. They repaint the cabinets. They do the bathroom. They do the kitchen. They do all these new appliances. And then you lease the unit. Well, the challenge that we're solving for here is the reporting side of unit renovations. Generally, teams are going to have an internal unit renovation tracker that says, okay, our GC sent us this list of proper units that have been renovated. Our property management company, if that's us or a third party, tells us, great, here's when that unit was put back online. Here's when it leased. Here's what it leased at. We answer all of those questions without having to do any of that manual work because we monitor on a daily basis how do the dimensions of that unit change. What I mean by dimensions is things like square footage. If you add or remove a wall, you change something like that, we keep track of it. A lot of times when you renovate a unit, you change its unit type. Goes from an A1 to an A1R to signify renovation. You
Mm.
add a unit amenity to it, right? You've got amenities like view amenities, floor amenities, location amenities. And a lot of times what people do is they'll add a unit renovation amenity. And so it'll be unit renovation code renovated with a $250 amenity premium. And so tracking that is generally a super, super manual process. Because we integrate directly with the property management systems and we monitor everything at a unit level every single day, as long as we know what your flag is on a renovated unit, we're picking up on that and we're able to trend that over time so that automatically we can classify leases on when did that lease occur in relation to the unit renovation date. You renovated the unit on February 18th. Well, any lease that was signed before February 18th was a classic unit, unrenovated. Any lease that was signed after February 18th is a renovated unit. So that's how we think about that from an analysis standpoint. I can think about deals that I've had in the past. We had one deal where we spent $30 million on a common area and unit renovation program. And the president of the company at the time had asked us, okay, well, we just spent $30 million. How does our revenue management tool know that we did that? And we all kind of looked at each other. We were like, it doesn't. We have no real way of knowing that. And we didn't really have the tools to monitor that lease velocity. And so that's the intention of something like this. A little bit more nuanced and complex than something that just like looking at new and renewal rents or breaking that down and seeing new and renewal trade out. I think a lot of
Uh,
folks are already doing that, but the
mm.
ability to break that down on a renovation standpoint or bedrooms is something that's a little bit more complex and something that we solve for both from a reporting standpoint for maybe an analyst or someone that has to put this information together, but then also for an asset manager or a company executive's decision-making process of, hey, if my in-place rent spread is, let's go look at our gross rent per foot. If my in-place rent spread is flat to negative, I don't want to be renovating units anymore. Like we might have underwritten that the market was going to really receive these well. And if it didn't happen and we keep spending money, you're putting bad dollars after good. And now you've got problems there and you're just spending bad money. And it's a problem that you don't really see until it's too late.
Colin, forgive me for asking any questions to which the answer is no. So are you able to determine what value add components will deliver the highest value in any market, like granite countertops versus something else? Just, or smart system or something. Is that something you've got woven in here or is not?
It's not woven in. What we do weave in is the ability to see on a unit level
Mm.
performance across just renovations and classic units, more from a binary standpoint. If I remove this here, we can see your renovated versus classic. And then in some cases, I don't know if this property's got different renovation scopes. So this has got two different renovation scopes here. So
Okay.
you can start to, I think the goal of the renovation program is that you kind of go out, you do your market survey, you tour
Mm.
your comps, you see the newer construction, you see the other renovation programs that have happened in the market. You probably do some of your market survey that we have the ability to do. If we look at the market survey here, you can see what that looks like. But you go in, you basically build out your scope. And then part of that from there is trying to underwrite, well, what do we want to do? What do we want to price these premiums at? And then from here, it's monitoring. So I would say that the tool doesn't tell you exactly what you should do, but it
Right.
helps you understand, did we make the right decision? Did we underwrite the right premiums? Did we underwrite a good scope? Does the full renovation do better than the partial renovation? Questions like that.
Now you've got a lot of uh, menu items on the left over here.
Yeah.
So do you want to? I'm not sure how many we've already looked at. Do you want to have a look at some of those? And by
Yeah.
the way, as you do this, just also don't forget to underscore how you're using AI, will you, to create this data?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So let's do, let let's cover the renewal projection here because this is one that I think is more important,
Mm.
especially today when rent rolls are incredibly inverted. And so what I want to look at here is this forward-looking curve, just conceptually as we think about retention, generally we get this data on a backward looking perspective. It's February right now. We might just be getting January retention numbers from normal reporting sources. The goal of this dashboard is that we can look forward and see, well, it's February. We are across this portfolio. We're about halfway done with March renewals so far. And so the ability to look and say, all right, well, I want to understand on my March notices here. I just want to understand what was the average increase here. So that average increase is 4% across the board on that. And so I can see that. I can see which units are still outstanding. And so from a management perspective and being able to close out renewals, like I said, especially when rent rolls are so inverted, retention has become a really, really important thing. And so the ability to measure renewals on a forward-looking basis is one of those things that say it answers the I want to solve this problem before it hits my income statement and before it hits my occupancy. So this is a dashboard that we are able to leverage here. The market survey here, when we think about setting rents and doing our market survey, the market survey in and of itself has transformed a lot over the last 18 months or so with the addition of kind of automated market surveys with public data sources. We've integrated with one of the leading providers on that front to provide this or integrate this data rather with our clients' information so that they can see their internal metrics overlaid with the market. And so that's a really big area where AI is being leveraged to not only look at each comp and say, how does this compare to our property? Coming up with the similarity score to see, okay, this property has got hardwood floors and we have carpet everywhere. Those compare very, very differently. This is a 300 unit garden style deal. This is a walk up. Looking at images and comparing things like that is super important to understand. Is this truly a comp of my deal? So that you can ultimately run it better and make better decisions with the information that you've got.
Wow, there's a lot of data here. This
Yeah.
is really incredible, actually.
Yeah, this is one of those, and so is the renewal projection. If we think of all the renewal trackers that go out between the Excel reports and the Word documents of like, great, we just sent this batch of renewals. I want the property manager to keep me updated on where everything lives with respect to retention. The idea behind that renewal dashboard is you don't have to do that anymore. Don't come to pricing calls being an analyst and sending me data. Let's look at the data and help us make better decisions. This dashboard here, think as I hit on at the top of the call, think about how long it takes you to do a market survey, not only just for your property, but for a whole portfolio. And then we pull in 15 comps for each of our clients' properties to do that for 15 comps. And what we're looking at is your current availability, your asking rents, your effective rents. And here I'll expand this a little bit, just kind of show the metrics that we're looking at. Forecasted trade outs, average days on market, cancel and denial rate. Cancel and denial rate's a feature that we rolled out a couple months ago that helps you understand, hey, a third of my leases end up in, or a third of my applications rather, end up in a cancel or denial on my one.
Where is that? Sorry, where's that data on this screen?
The cancel and denial
Oh,
rate.
there it is. The last one. Okay, yeah,
Yep.
final. Okay.
Yep. So being able to understand across a market, am I having is my cancel and denial challenge more outsized than the market? I look at this property. This is all anonymized data here. I look at this property. About half of my applications result in a cancel and denial, but the market's at almost 60%. Operationally, that helps me run my deal a little bit differently. Helps me spend my marketing dollars a little bit differently. Helps me identify different pockets of different submarkets that have the cancel and denial challenge. And so if you think
And
about the time savings, I'm like, okay, I've got all of that information updated this morning, and now I'm able to kind of make decisions. And this deal, I know it a little bit, having some challenges on its two beds. I can see pricing trends for me in this dark blue versus the market. We were priced at a pretty high premium versus the market here. Of late, as this dark blue bar got taller, we had to pull those rates down because occupancy is a component of price, and as occupancy goes down, price generally has to follow, especially if your retention's low. So this is an area that has really, really changed in the last 3 years with market surveys. I can remember having to do these manually, going on apartments.com and thinking that we were really slick because
that's right, exactly.
we could,
Colin, let me just ask you a
yeah,
question. So you said something I just want to clarify. You talked about, and by the way, when I look away from you and my eyes look around screens, I'm not distracted. I'm taking notes. So please don't think I'm not
no,
paying
it's all good.
attention. When people do that to me, it's like, excuse me. I'm
Right,
talking.
right.
So don't be distracted by that. Um, so yeah, these comps that you've got here, one of the things that you said, I thought you said, was your client, or in this case, the client properties, client's portfolio. But you're bringing in other comps, right? From
Mhm.
other compete, like actual, not just how the portfolio is performing. You're pulling in. How are you determining what are actual comps then? How are you getting something that's really relevant? And
Mhm.
presumably, it's a double barrel question. This can also be user manipulated data.
Yep. Yeah. So
Talk me
two.
through that.
Yeah, two parts of that. So to provide this market data, we partnered with a company called Hello Data. They provide market surveys, and they source that from property websites and listing services. A lot of folks are using that in a different world. It's like I've got my market survey app, I've got my business intelligence app. We combine those, and then because we've got the data, we provide at least a market survey so that you can see it. But the area that is really presented and overlaid is on your executed rent information here. And so looking at that information like we are here is how we do that. That red line that I'm hitting on here in this total asset, this red line here to overlay your executed rents versus the market. So the way that those comps are chosen is with what Hello Data calls their similarity score. And that's looking at all sorts of different factors like building size, unit features, unit locate or property location, property size in terms of like how many units does it have, right? A 30 unit walk up in Lincoln Park, Chicago comps very differently to a 400 unit high rise in River North. They probably don't even comp that well together. And so it goes through all of these lists of categories, comes up with a similarity score and then ranks them 1 to n as far as you want to go. And then we pull the top 15 there. And so then we also allow the user to say, you know what? Let's look at Evergreen Lofts here. I want to look at just Evergreen versus, say, these 5 different comps here. And you can select and choose. I only want to look at that because I think we all understand a property only comps to 3 to 6, maybe 7 or 8 comps. 15 is a lot. But when we talk about markets, that's where we use 15 is to smooth out some of the noise that can exist on smaller comp sets.
You know what this is reminiscent of, actually? I'm sure you must be familiar in the hospitality industry, the star reports,
Yeah, I know the star report.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
It feels like a star report almost to me.
Hmm. Yeah.
How are your users, or how are users using your platform in ways that they may not have ever managed a property before. Okay, so I'm trying not to put words into your mouth, but this is a daft example. In star reports in hospitality,
Hmm.
as I understand it, hotel managers are often compensated based on how they
Hmm.
do against the comp set, right? It's like a
Hmm.
really important component for them. So they're in star reports all the time and looking
Hmm.
at the comp set. And that would be a very innovative way of dealing with a management company or with on-site managers or asset managers. I can't quite imagine how that would work here because it's slightly different. But are you
Hmm.
seeing innovative um, ways people are using this data to change the way they actually operate and manage?
Adam, that's another really good question. I can
Mm.
tell you've been doing this. Um, yeah, I think one of the ways that we do that is I'm going to illustrate here. I might need to get it set up here for a second, but is comparing. So generally, we're looking at property performance. What we're looking at here is utility rebill. Utility expense is an expense center, and rebill is generally a revenue center. Rarely are we trying to profit on utilities, but in some cases you're able to, right? If you roll out a valet trash program, you are legally allowed to make money on that because it's a service that you're providing. But the way that I've seen clients use this and the way that I've used this in the past, particularly teams that have a lot of third-party management, is they look at information across different management companies here. And so again, this is all anonymized information, but the ability to stack rank different metrics and say, I want to look at how this operator compares to this operator compares to this operator. And if we go and we say, let's say we look at the trash example again, well, I can see across some of these properties, okay, this management company does a really, really good job. So I want to now maybe talk with the leadership at that management company that oversees my portfolio. And I'm able to start kind of having
Mm.
property management companies compete with one another, not in so much a bad way, but it's just like, hey, we
Oh,
operate in the same
wow.
market. We've got 3 management companies there. why can they run this deal so much differently than you can? And so it's something that I've used in the past, both, when I was in asset management, I had portfolios that had three, four, five operators, sometimes two or three in the same market. And so being able to stack rank that, and at least from a comparative standpoint, to help you understand what's going well, what's not going well. That's a way that has really transformed the ability to see that. For groups that own and manage, where they can't really fire themselves, they can stack rank performance across different markets. And so being able to see that information of like, okay, in Texas, let's say we got three markets in Texas. Why is Houston so much different than in San Antonio or Dallas? What are the fundamentals there that we can rip off and duplicate? I had a boss one time that said R&D. It's rip off and duplicate. What can we R&D in one market and put in another market to just be more efficient or be better or be smarter about decisions?
So I'm just enjoying this so much, this whole exploration of these amazing tools. Um, okay, let's see, on the left, is there anything else you want to show us over here on this left? I'm just anxious to see everything. Got a scorecard,
Yeah,
turnover damages. There's all kinds of cool stuff over.
Yeah,
What's
let's
behind it?
check out the scorecard here real quick. Give
Mm,
that a second to load. This has got a lot of metrics. As we just think about portfolio reporting, scorecards are a thing, especially for ownership groups that have, a dozen deals or two dozen deals. It's a really important thing, and it's one of the things is like, okay, here's all the metrics that I care about. Now I want to stack rank every property on everything. And it's just kind of what we were mentioning earlier. Like I want to be able to see within a market. Maybe who's doing the best versus budget, or where are we seeing the best effective new lease trade out across different markets and then stack ranked within different markets. As we look at this, I might want to again say, let's look at an operator and then a property. I mean, being able to stack rank operators across all of the metrics that we've determined are important. We've got operations metrics and we've got income statement metrics. So things like your year-to-date budget, year-to-date NOI versus budget, year-to-date revenue versus budget, year-over-year metrics, all of that stuff. I want to understand and look at to be able to help drive property performance, talk to investors about, hey, this market's doing really well, and here are the three areas that are doing really well. And so the scorecard's pretty cool. And it's something that was actually client driven. It was a client recommendation of like, hey, I want to look at these. I don't know how many metrics there are, 15, 20 metrics in here. Can we put those on there? And within a day, it was like, oh man, that's a great idea. Let's get that rolled out. We agreed on the metrics, and now they've got it, and they were able to use it on investor calls that they had a couple weeks ago. So
okay.
the scorecard is something that's super helpful. Online reputation, this is super important for
Yeah.
folks, especially that don't own and manage. Management companies generally have got online reputation tools. They've got Chatmeter, Bird Eye, Reputation.com, whatever. But ownership groups generally don't have access to all of that information. And if they have more than one management company, now you're managing logins. I've got three managers. I gotta
Right.
log into Chatmeter and Bird Eye and Reputation.com.
Mm,
This information pulls straight from Google. And so the ability to see your Google scores versus your market, very important. And the reason why is because two-thirds of people that start their apartment search tour are going to
start
Google.
with reviews.
Why?
Exactly.
Yeah. And why are they going to Google? Because they don't know how the heck to get there. So they go and they plug it into Google Maps. The example I always give is let's say I'm Summit Residences here, the one at the bottom. I'm a 3.4. Now let's change this from an apartment to a restaurant. It was Valentine's Day a couple days ago. Let's say you're taking your significant other out to dinner.
Mm,
And you say, it's between Summit Residences and Skyline Terrace. And they look it up and they see, oh gosh, they're taking me to Summit Residences, a 3.4. And as I look at it, they look at the property, not a lot of reviews. It's come down in the last little bit. If I hover over this, I can actually read the review and see what's going on with that. It's like, gosh, I don't really like that.
mm,
Go look at Skyline Terrace at a 4.5. They haven't had a negative, they've had two negative reviews in the last 12 months.
mm.
So it's one of those things that really helps you kind of just table set on the importance of online reputation. Most people are starting their apartment journey on Google. From a goal setting standpoint, the number of new five-star reviews to be able to say, okay, I need to get Summit Residences to a 4.0. To do that, where's Summit Residences here? I need 93 new five-star reviews. But maybe I have a quick win. Lakeside Haven only needs 13. So I can probably get that the next week or so. Now you're able to set goals with teams and give them quick wins and make them feel like they're kind of a part of something that is improving and doing a better job.
Fantastic. All right. Anything else on this left comment? There is one that you've missed, at least.
Probably
But
the income statement and your turnover and damages. We can kind of hit on those quickly.
yeah.
This income statement, think of this like a T12 on wheels. The challenge that this was solving was being on site, maybe doing a budget meeting, maybe just walking the site, and getting asked a question maybe from an investor, from an executive, or someone that doesn't know the deal as well. How's NOI trending? Or do you guys have a bad debt problem here? Having this on your iPad where you're walking around site, this with every dashboard, but being able to walk around site and have GL level information, being able to talk through, oh, our manager's been out for a long time. Oh, well, do we have a temp help and overtime problem here? If I want to look at temp help and overtime per unit, I can look at that. It looks like I only got one property that even has the temp help problem. But the ability to talk through this without having to go to the property management system, pull a T12, do the analysis, compare it to budget, all of that stuff. This is what I mean when I say it's this T12 on wheels. Is it going to replace financial reviews and accounting systems? No, it's not its intention. The goal of it is that an asset manager, somebody that needs to know some answers quickly, they can get on and understand that relatively
Okay.
fast.
All right. Right. Anything else you want to show me?
I think that about covers
Right. I
it.
got a question. I was hoping you'd say that because I actually got a question. So I am interested in actually how you integrate. We don't need to go too much deep into this because
Mhm.
we're actually, it's amazing how much time we've already spent, but it doesn't seem like it. But so how are you using AI, comma,
Mhm.
and why is Copilot up there top left on your menu item?
Yeah, so we use AI in everything that we do.
Mm,
AI helps us build this morning. We're working on new metrics to help us better quantify things and set different goals for leasing and for marketing and all of that information.
mm,
I would say in present state, AI is used a lot more on the back end and building the company than it is on the front end. And that's really just because the BI in and of itself and seeing metrics like this, quite frankly, it's pretty foreign. There's not a lot of teams that have got information like this. A lot of it is like, I've been doing it this way for a long time. The Copilot thing is there. We don't leverage it right now, but where I see this ultimately going is the full integration of AI to the point of you, and it'll sound crazy to say, but you've got AI team members that run deals. And we talked a little bit ago, Adam, and I mentioned the term agent swarms.
Yes, that's right. I'm so glad that you mentioned that now again.
It,
I've been telling everybody, I've been dropping that all the time. I
yeah,
keep saying that as though I know what it means.
so how I try to position both
Yeah.
the app and the company and all of that
Mm,
is to try to be on that frontier. And the demo that we show right now and what users are using right now, it's not leveraging AI a ton because right now we're just trying to get the industry and folks comfortable with chatting with AI. Right? We
okay.
at the top of the call, you and I were talking about how are some folks using it? Well, some folks are only knowing that they can maybe write an email or write that birthday card.
Right.
Little do they know there are companies being built today that are, how do I explain this simply? It is a company built by AI agents, run by AI agents, and governed by AI agents. There is no human interactivity with it. And it's a concept that is so incredibly foreign that you roll something like that out to people, you spook them. The data might not be perfect. And so, yeah, I don't know if that answers the question. I kind of can get onto some side trails there, but yeah, we use AI in everything that we do. A lot of it is back end, a lot of it is building things, a lot of it's validating things. And
Wow.
then in the future, kind of the phase two and where the app's ultimately going,
Mm,
where the industry is
right.
ultimately going to go, um, is leveraging AI to actually do more of the work, to do things like financial review, to look at your retention, to look at TBDs and figure out the questions that you're going to ask. It's going to do a lot of that for us. And it might not push the button and say, okay, I did it, but it's going to come to us every single day and say, here's where your portfolio stands. Here's the 5 deals I want you to focus on. And here are the 10 things that I recommend you make a change to today. Your two beds are 20% over market, and you've got your biggest month of lease expirations in the next 60 days. And you're still looking at 40% of your renewals that have been sent out. None of them have been, that 40% has not been responded to. And so it's integrating and cleaning data to make it so it's ready for that AI. So it sounds crazy to say right now, but at some point you're going to have agent swarms that run every single aspect of your business, from full on asset management duties down to you've got one AI agent that only monitors your competitors' ads on apartments.com.
Mm. Okay, last question. He said lying through his teeth, but close to the last question. You got some buttons up here at the top on the top menu. One is export. So
Mhm.
for an asset manager that is showing up at a meeting or needs to deliver a report, how are you facilitating that?
Yeah, so I'll show a couple things up here. Export here. Think of this like every investor report that you've ever had to do, how much fun those are and how long those take. The ability here to export this entire app or an individual page to a PDF. You've got high resolution, well organized charts that tell the story that you want to do. So instead of having to take that time to put that information together, you can export to PDF and pull that information. This becomes, for a lot of our clients, it becomes their investor reporting hub, where we're able to work with them, particularly on this
Really?
dashboard where it shows some of that portfolio.
Mm,
It now automates that entire world, so you don't have to spend so much time doing the investor reporting. You get to actually talk to the investor about performance. The way that this app is used best is when it's used live. Back in my later days in being in asset management, I never sent reports. We just got on the call and we went through dashboards. And I would say, great, I want to
I see.
talk through occupancy in this market. You're clicking through because when you send a chart and they see, gosh, what's that line going down so far for? You
Mm,
just show them. You say, all right, well, I want to look at that. And you see, this is how this is coming down. I'm going to show you this other spot where that happens. And you start to ease the concerns.
mm,
So that is what the export to PDF ability does for us. This subscribe feature is really cool. You think about the MMRs and how boring those are, and how they don't really tell you anything, and how property managers out on a Monday and say you don't get it till Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday. This allows you to subscribe to this data on any cadence that you want. So you create a subscription here, and you can send this information however you want. So a lot of teams are saying, okay, I want daily operation summary for an individual property or for a portfolio. And so you get to determine when do you get this report. The
mm.
last thing is I'll discard that. Last thing here is set an alert. So I can say when let's see this when the number of two beds falls below a certain number, a certain threshold, it will send you a Teams message or an email and say, "Oh, looks like your two bed availability has gone above a threshold that you want, or your property availability, your ATR percent, your available to rent percent." It's now that proactive alert, so it's a little bit more exceptions based management and not so much trying kind of chasing your tail and trying to figure out what's going on in the portfolio. So yeah, the ability there to export to PDF allows a lot of our users to replicate or replace investor reporting. And then the subscribe and alerts are things that are more proactive, more time savings, right? So I don't have to open the app every day. I can kind of get it delivered to me. And then I can have those alerts that are, oop, this is my code red. The market price for two beds just went up 5%, and I need to now look at this and understand why.
Ah, amazing. Okay. Right. Let's move on and start wrapping up. So, how
Yeah.
long somebody wants to sign up?
hmm
How long does it take to onboard a new client?
I'm actually really glad you asked that question because that's something that we've spent a lot of time to solve. Do you mind if I stop share the screen?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Our onboarding time is 48 hours. Which is something that, again, we spent a lot of time to try to solve that problem because of how much onboarding in the multifamily industry sucks. I mean, how many times can you think, wow, we rolled out this great new app. We're 6 months down the road. We've got three properties live. We've got clients that have, between three, five, seven properties and some that have over 30. Onboarding time's 48 hours. And honestly, a lot of that time is just spent by the computer going through and pulling data, validating it, and doing a lot of that in the background. We kick off one job and everything goes. We spend a little bit of time validating it and it goes from there. So onboarding is a super quick process and is not something that is, um, what's the word I'm looking for? It's quick in that it happens fast, but it's not quick in that we overlook the data and it's like, well, you got data on the screen, but none of it's right.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get that. Pricing.
Yeah, so we price per property. We got three per property per month. We got three different packages because different groups prefer different things. The package that we saw on the demo
Mm.
today is our pro package, and so that includes your income statements and everything like that. That price is at $650 per month. And then we've got packages that go between 350, 500, and then this 650 here
Per asset.
per asset per month. Correct.
And what kind of traction? By the way, you can answer these, or you can just tell me pound sand. It's totally fine. What kind of traction are you getting in terms of, well, not necessarily ARR, but in terms of customer base and
Mhm.
how are you trending with that?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, last year we grew. Last year was our first full year in business. We grew 7x. This year we are thus far through the year. We've grown another 4x. So I mean, it's been really, really fast. I think that the reason that it's kind of starting to get on this exponential side of the curve is because of how long deals take in this industry. I've been working on some deals since November of 2024. It
Ah.
takes a long time to get people comfortable with this information and all of that. So pacing really well. And we've had two new business lines that have been created really
Hmm.
because clients have been like, "Hey, can we do this thing?" We've and this will be announced later this week, but we've got an API coming down the chute that actually is how our company's is built, is on the BubbleGum API. Well, we had a client that was like, "Can we have API access to pull the data?" And I was like, "Yeah, we can do that. That's actually a really smart idea."
So how are they going to use it then? Are they going to brand it on their, like, how are they doing that?
Yeah, so the idea behind the API is they can build the same tools that BubbleGum has, or at least build it on the same framework that
Ah.
BubbleGum does. And
But with
the
different data, like for a different industry?
No, so the data that feeds into the Bubblegum app today
Yeah.
all lives in the Bubblegum API.
Hmm.
And so as we make calls to go grab this data, we hit the Bubblegum API and we pull that data in. We then give our clients the same access to that API so that they can go and say, you know what, I want to build my own custom reporting for this stuff. And
Oh,
they
I
can
see.
do that. The other
Okay.
use case though
Mm,
is, and I've got a call with a group this afternoon to go over this.
mm.
They've got 9 different instances of Yardi for one management company. They've got 9 different instances. And so what that means for them is they've got 9 logins. They've got 9 separate API calls that they need to make with Yardi's system. With the Bubblegum API, they're able to make one call for all 9 instances, for all properties, for all data. And so it allows more enterprise clients that want this information in a data warehouse. It allows them to cut down on the number of resources that they've got to spend, whether it's man hours or dollars, to gather data, warehouse it, and use it for sources and information that they need, maybe at a more niche level.
Colin, what is the pushback that you're getting? Why do you have such a long sales cycle? I mean, I look at this and I just think, okay, can we like set this up now?
Yeah. I think rarely is it price. If it's price, I've had folks that have made a decision based on price and then they've come back and said, man, we got a great deal on this app, but that's in one spot of our income statement. But then we had to hire a consultant and we had
Right.
to hire an analyst to actually build the thing. And so everybody that's made a decision based on price has come back and they're like, man, at the end of my contract, I'm gonna call you back because this hits one spot. Everything's built for you. Everything's white glove. It covers 3 different apps: a BI app, an online reputation app, and a market survey app. So, it's about $1.67 a unit. But when you start doing the math on, oh, I need to hire a consultant for my PMS. I needed to
Mm.
hire an analyst to do this. I have to pay 50 cents a unit for just to get the data. By the time you do that, you're over $2 a unit. It's like, well, it's just hitting in different spots in your income statement. So that's one of the reasons of pushback for any app. I think you're going to get that. And the other thing is like, yeah, I don't know. I don't mind our Monday morning reports. I've been doing it this way for 20 years and it
Yeah,
works for me.
exactly. Yeah.
And so that's probably the biggest hurdle that we have to overcome. For folks
Mm.
that I've worked with in the past that have used the app that have to go a day without it, they're like, I can't go back to Monday morning reports. Never. For folks that have never used it, the hurdle is I don't know what I'm missing. I don't know what's out there. I don't know what's possible. I didn't know that I could pull all this information in and look at it in one view and have it update every day. So those are probably the biggest hurdles that we have.
Colin, what a pleasure. What a pleasure to see you again and to see this amazing tool that you built. I
Yeah,
really
thank you.
appreciate it. I have no more questions, so I'm just going to say, Colin Green, founder, bubblegumbi.com. Thank you so much for being on Demo Day podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. I appreciate it.
All right, that was Colin Green, founder of bubblegumbi.com. Colin, what a pleasure meeting you. Thanks so much for spending your time with me today. And I've really enjoyed learning more about Bubblegum, more about you, and more about the platform. So thanks very much for joining me. And thank you to dear viewers for joining us today. I'm sure you found it's like some of this stuff is really mind blowing, isn't it? So I hope you found it as interesting as I did. If you have not already done so, please go to the GowerCrowd.com website and subscribe to my newsletter where I'll punch out as soon as new editions are published, I will let you know. And we're also providing some tips and tactics, advanced for using AI in your everyday business to enhance your real estate business. Actually, when I say advanced, what I mean is advanced from where you are now, not rocket science, but just helping you do what you are doing now with AI even better than before, right? So that's all at gowercrowd.com when you subscribe. So that's it. That's all I've got for today's episode. Thanks so much for joining me. Until next time, this is Adam Gower signing off.